Hello, welcome everyone to our first Microsoft 365 Champions Community User Group of 2025. We're excited to get back into it here. I'm joined with Nina today, where we're going to be talking about the free version of Copilot. We've been having a lot of conversations with people about Copilot lately, and one of the things that we discovered is there's a lot available in the free version. So we're kind of excited to show you that, and maybe you'll be able to play in there a little bit, see some value before you maybe make an investment into the licensed version. So before we kick off, I just want to give everybody a little bit 1 minute about my tech because we do training on Copilot 365, but we're also a managed service provider. So we work with small to medium-sized businesses to help them build a proven IT strategy. We realize as small businesses, you have a lot of other things on your plate, and so we just try to make IT easy so that you can be more adaptable to your other challenges in your business. So if that's something you're interested in chatting about, feel free to raise your hand, but we know that's not why you're here today. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Nina to get started on the free version of Copilot.
Thanks, Stephanie, and welcome everybody today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. So as Stephanie said, we want to touch on some of those free tips and tricks in Copilot. I think a lot of people are a little bit hesitant to make that financial investment, and we'll talk a little bit about pricing and kind of what does the free version versus the paid version look like. But this is a really great way to get you started and to maybe get a group of champions together to try and test this out before you make that financial investment. So for today, let's look at what we will be covering. So as I said, the free versus the paid version, what are some of those features? Where will you see it or not see it in Microsoft 365? Where to access the free version? And then a couple fun tips and tricks on creating images, drafting or creating documents from scratch. And then one of my favorite things with the free version is referencing documents. So if you have existing spreadsheets or reports or Word documents, you can reference those and do some things with that as well. So a lot of good stuff here. So before I go into the actual demo part of today, I did want to do a little quick comparison of the free version versus Copilot for 365. So the free version or standard Copilot is embedded in your Microsoft Edge browser, and we'll look at that as we go into the demo. So that is free. The paid version, which is called Copilot for Microsoft 365, it's gone through a couple of name changes in the last while, but that's where we've landed today, is $30 per user per month, and that has to be paid upfront annually. So it does feel like, wow, that does feel a little bit pricey. I have had some of these conversations with clients as well. I will say that with some of the time savings that you're looking at specifically, and Stephanie, I know you've been using this a lot as well in Microsoft Teams, just being able to have it embedded in Teams, do those recaps of your meetings, maybe write an email or a report on those meetings, those actions that used to take me maybe 45 minutes after each meeting, because I'm in consulting quite a lot every day, as you can imagine. I could, scale that back to like 10 to 15 minutes to get that done. So I would say for what I do, and maybe this isn't relevant to everybody, but for what I do, that has really paid for itself within probably the first 2 or 3 days of using it. But again, one thing we always mention as well is that Copilot is maybe not always the exact right tool for everybody. So I think this is another reason to try and play around with the free version and see what some of those functions are. There's a lot of AI tools, as you can imagine, right now out there for specific tools. So maybe there's a different type of tool that's more custom built for a particular job function. A couple other things just to note here. So in terms of generating images, you are limited to 15 with the designer that's plugged into Copilot per day. But I must say, I don't generate that many images, so that's never been an issue, where with the paid version, it's unlimited. In terms of Microsoft 365 integration, it is limited with the free version. Obviously, you're using this in Edge, and you can attach one document at a time, and that if you wanted to do a summary or reference it, you can. Whereas with the paid version, it's fully integrated into everything you do. So in Teams, in your Microsoft Office, so like Excel, PowerPoint, you'll see that there's actually a Copilot button in the application itself, and you have the ability to reference multiple documents. If I want to summarize, 3 different reports, and and create a bulleted list from that, or get a summary, I can do that, where you limit it with just one in the free version. I will show you just a second what that button looks like, because I do have both versions up here today. And then in terms of customization, there really isn't much to be done with the free version, but with the paid version, we do have Copilot agents that we can create. So if you want to, look at some customization around creating a Copilot agent for HR, for example, that's specifically focused on HR activities, there's a lot that you can do there with customization with Copilot Studio. So that's not included with the free version. So with that being said, I think let's jump straight into the demo. Just really quickly, I do want to show you on the paid version. So this is what I was mentioning about actually having the Copilot button in the applications if you have the paid version. So with the free version, you wouldn't see that in Microsoft Office. So just one thing that I wanted to point out. Okay, so let's go and we will have a little bit of fun here with Copilot. So how do I access Copilot? That's the very, very first step. So if you have your Edge browser open and you log in here to office.com, you'll notice that there are 2 ways to access it. So the one is here on the left bar, there's actually a Copilot button. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And as that's opening up over there, I will show that on the right-hand side, there's also a Copilot button. So this one kind of creates this little flyout panel on the right-hand side. And this is super useful if you're browsing the web and you want to, generate a summary of a web page. And I'm going to show you how to do that a little later on as well. But so 2 ways to access it. One on the left-hand side here with the Copilot button, or with the Copilot top right. Now, if in your organization you're not seeing that, it could potentially be that your internal IT has disabled that feature. So I just wanted to point that out, because we have done workshops before where people brought their own laptops and said they couldn't see the Copilot option there. So that would be a discussion with your internal IT on whether that's actually enabled or not. But mostly by default, it should be there. Another thing that I wanted to point out before we actually get into creating some prompts here is this little button up here. It looks like a green badge with a check mark, and it says Enterprise Data Protection. So this is a really important distinction as I'm speaking to clients that are maybe utilizing other AI tools like ChatGPT, using that casually for stuff, or maybe I just want to, check on vacation options and things like that. I don't see a problem there. Where I do have a concern is where people are inputting data into ChatGPT that is organizational data. There's no protections around that. And, it's obviously learning from your data. This is completely opposite in Microsoft. With Copilot, you have enterprise data protection, meaning that any data sets or data that you reference, any prompts that you input there are all protected within your 365 tenant. So, if there's things that, if you're trying to do things that are related to your organization, I really highly, highly recommend that you're using Copilot instead of some of the open AI tools out there. All right, so I'm in Copilot here. You'll notice there's a couple of suggested prompts. If you click here on the view prompts, there's also additional prompts that might kind of just help you to get started. If you click to see all prompts, it'll actually take you to Microsoft's prompt library, and there's a lot of different prompts there that'll maybe just help you take that next step on things that you could potentially try. But we're going to try our own things. I'm going to start with something a little fun. I do actually have the prompts already lined up, so you don't have to watch me type them. So the first one that I want to do is generate an image. So this is in over here. I want to generate a steampunk image of a koala pilot flying a zeppelin. This could be whatever you need it to be. The more descriptive you can be, like with the format of it and the type of drawing and what should be in it, the better the results will be. So my daughter does love koalas, so this is for her. Um, All right, and it's busy generating there. I will say and Stephanie knows this as well, from experience, there's certain things that Copilot with images doesn't do great. People, limbs, facial expressions sometimes. I think we've struggled a little bit, Stephanie, with
Yeah,
lettering,
text.
text and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
just something to note, it's not quite there yet. And this is the same for pretty much all AI tools out there right now. All right, so I have my really cute koala. As soon as I've generated this result, Copilot will also try to give me some additional tips of things that I could potentially try. But yeah, it's a really great feature. Nice to maybe use it in a presentation or a brochure or something like that. So a little bit more fun, a little bit more creative, not typically something in my role that I use every single day, but good to know.
Yeah,
So
I'll just add to that the text thing. So one thing that we did figure out too is if you do want text on it, by doing it in all caps or even like putting quotes around it or brackets, that will help the Copilot understand that that is the exact wording that you want. So that's one thing to notice. And then the other thing I would say it's really good at doing, so try if you have specific Pantone colors or colors for branding that you want, give it those specific colors and it'll do a really good job at adhering to those guidelines and creating something that's within those colors as well. So I use this all the time, so I love it.
thanks for the tip, Stephanie. Yeah, I didn't even know the color thing. That's super
Mm-hmm.
useful. All right, so the next thing that I wanted to show is how to actually get Copilot to help me generate stuff from scratch. We all know that kind of blank feeling you have looking at either, trying to generate an email from scratch or, trying to write a report, trying to write a policy. So I will say that Copilot's not there to do 100% of the job. I do want to clarify that from the get-go, but it can get me a really good 40, 50, 60% of the way. So the way we always describe it is it's kind of like having an intern working with you, and they can do some of that initial legwork, some of that initial research, and kind of get you part way there. But really, it's still up to us to edit, to change, to add, maybe sometimes rephrase the question. That's another thing. Like if you're not getting what you want the first time, it's important to iterate with your prompts and be as specific as you can. So for this one, I am looking to generate an email. I want to make it kind of enthusiastic, and I want to invite our 365 champions to a train the trainer session. So I've asked it to write it in a casual style, and this is kind of the content and what I want it to contain. So I'm going to go ahead and ask it to run that for me. All right. And it does a pretty good job of generating that email. Again, if I wanted to add to that or iterate on this prompt, I can say, hey, I also want to include a brief agenda or maybe add a deadline, make it a little bit more formal, change the tone. So, a lot that you can do to, it's a good starting point, but let's maybe improve on it even more if need be. I'm going to start a new one because one of the other things that I was mentioning, and this is something that I'm working with quite a bit, is kind of around policies. As we know, as AI is becoming, more prevalent, we have to start thinking about what are those acceptable use policies look like within our organization. I did just do a general kind of web search, and I must say that, the templated stuff out there wasn't great. And so I said, well, let's see if Copilot can help me with this. I'm going to go and paste and I'll say, you know what, can you please help me write a Copilot acceptable use policy? And then very importantly, I included some details that I wanted it to include in the policy. So I wanted to make sure that, that there's still an approval process in place if I'm creating documents. And I wanted the tone of the policy to be professional, but still understandable. I don't want it to be like super technical either. So let's see what it does. And as you can see, following a very typical policy framework and working on it pretty quickly. So here we have it. You just scroll up here a little bit. Introduction, the purpose, the scope, kind of a lot more detail on the acceptable use, how we go through document approval processes, responsibilities, and so on. And again, I can take this and then I can, improve on it even more. So what are the consequences? Maybe I want to add a section in there for when the policy would be reviewed. So some of those typical things that you would see in a policy, maybe updates and dates that the updates were made, those types of things. But what a great way to start, because, as I said, nothing worse than looking at that blank screen and wondering, where do I even start?
Well, what I love about that, Nina, too, is it's even like the ideation of it, right? Like I wouldn't have thought of violations maybe on my own, and while what's written there is maybe not exactly what I'd want, it gives me the framework to start. Like these are the different parts that I need to create, that maybe like even starting there is such a time saver. So
Yeah, and one other thing, just kind of thinking about that, one is I can copy and paste this into Word, and then I continue working on it there. What I really like, though, is that recently we've had this additional feature added in here called Edit in Pages. So I'm just going to click on that just to show you. So let's say Stephanie and I are actually working on this together. Before, I would have had to copy and paste this into a Word document and kind of send that off to her and have her collaborate with me that way. But with this, what I can do is actually share the results of that prompt, and I can say here I want to link this page, and I can copy that, and then I can actually pull Stephanie into this as well. And then we can make, changes to this. We can make edits. She can add her suggestions as well. For those of you who kind of work a little bit with Loop, what it's really creating is a Loop component. If you haven't worked with Loop, don't worry about it. But it's a really great way to create like a workspace for myself and multiple other people to continue working on this and to collaborate on it. So I think this is a really, really great feature as well. I'm just going to close that just a quick second. So if I wanted to get back, there's a little icon up there that says open page, and it'll bring me back to that page again as well. All right. Okay, so I wanted to switch gears just a little bit. This is more kind of in line with what you do, Stephanie. So this was more of an acceptable use policy. But let's say we're really thinking about something like a marketing plan. I'm actually going to just reset over here by clicking on new chat. And so I'm going to do just a really basic, very generic prompt. Again, the more specific you can be, the better, but I do want to show how you can actually create a basic prompt and then iterate from there. So I want to generate a marketing plan for what I do, which is the 365 consulting piece. I haven't really given it much in terms of specifics. And again, Stephanie, to your point, you see how it's kind of including all the things that I would typically want to see in a marketing plan. So maybe I haven't, as a consultant, typically worked in a marketing plan before, and so I wouldn't even know what to include in that. So it's got my summary, my market analysis, marketing objectives, and so on. And now I want to refine this a little bit. So I'm going to say to it, I want to expand on some digital marketing strategies, and I want some practical examples, because for what I do, I'm kind of new to this. All right, so now it's going to take what it has, then it's going to go a little bit more in depth, telling me stuff around content marketing. There's quite a bit of data, as you can see. Let me just scroll up here a little bit, talking about SEO, social media marketing. It's giving me some actual practical examples around things like LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook. I can go and dig in even deeper and say, can you help me craft a LinkedIn post about my 365 consulting business? Can you help me write something for Twitter or Facebook? So yeah, you could go even more in depth than that. And now that I've got kind of this, this outline, I want to take it a step even further. And I want to say, you know what? I actually want to create a pitch deck for this. So again, just kind of thinking to the free versus paid version. If I had the paid version, it would actually generate the PowerPoint for me. But in the free version, I can get a good way there just with asking the following. So I could say, create a PowerPoint outline as a pitch deck that can be used in my meeting with potential investors. I'm going to go ahead and click there. And based on kind of our previous conversation, it's creating all the different slides that I would potentially need and the content for it. So I could copy and paste that into PowerPoint. So again, it unfortunately won't be able to generate the actual PowerPoint, but giving me the slides and the content that should be included on the slides already incredibly helpful.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next step, so this has really been looking at, and really we've just been skimming like kind of the top of the iceberg here, just really demonstrating on how you can use this if you're trying to generate some stuff from scratch. The next thing that I want to do is actually show you how I can reference existing documents and do things with that. So for this one, I actually have this document open over here. It's a market analysis report. So it's for a chai tea company. As you can see, it's a pretty long document. And what I actually want to do here is I want to create a bulleted summary of that. I don't have time to go read through this entire report. So for this, instead of just writing the prompt, I have this little paperclip button down at the bottom here. So kind of like in Outlook where I can attach a document. So I'm going to click add a file. And I'm going to say I want to look at this market analysis report. And then I'm going to say, please create a bulleted summary of this report. Okay, so again, with the free version, we can only reference one document at a time as of today. Maybe that will change in the future, but with the paid version, I can reference multiple documents and ask for a summary. And there we have it. So that really long document, I have a nice bulleted outline of it. I can ask additional questions. So it's even giving me some suggestions here. How does it compare to other teas? Can you explain the competitive analysis? What are the key marketing strategies? Let's just go ahead and I'll be lazy and just pick one of the prompts that are already there. Some of the key marketing strategies, but I can ask very specific questions about that report if I needed to. I can even...
We did have a question about that too. I know you said one document on the free version. Do you know about any of the limitations of that attachment, like sizes, the formats? Could it be a Word? Could it be a PDF? Like any of
Word,
that?
so long as it's a Word, PDF, Excel. I haven't
Text
with
file?
size. Yeah, probably. I haven't had any limitations with size yet, but I might break it one of these days. Who knows? But yes, so I'm going to show you as well how to reference an Excel document as well, which was kind of
Perfect.
a fun eye opener to me. I didn't know it could do that as well. Before we go there, though, I'm going to do one last one here, and I'm going to say rewrite using non-technical language. So, for those IT people out there that have to go through these crazy white papers with really highly technical language, that would be another option to use there as well. I'm actually going to ask it to do something a little bit more interesting with this data. I just want to grab the copy and paste this. I wanted to create a table. So in the report, we're talking about different distribution channels. So I want it to create a table summarizing and comparing the distribution channels. So important that I can actually ask Copilot to present the results in a specific format. So for this, I'm asking for a table. I'll show you what that looks like. And there we have it. So bulleted lists, tables, create a report, just, be specific about what that result should look like. All right, so the next one that I want to show you is how to actually attach or reference an Excel spreadsheet, which I was super excited about. I thought initially it could only really do Word and kind of PDFs. So I'm going to actually start a new chat here. I have a very basic spreadsheet, so it's I didn't want to get too complicated for today's demo, but really it's also tied to our tea business. We've got some sales, some social media engagement, those types of things. So what I'm going to do is the same thing again. I'm going to click here to add a file so that I can reference that Excel spreadsheet. And it's the tea market trends. There we go. Click on open. And I'm going to say generate a summary, show trends and insights. Okay. So it's basically, peeking into that spreadsheet. I just want to grab a new prompt here as well.
This is so great that it does this in the free version because this is powerful in the paid version, what it can do in Excel. So it's exciting to see it can do this in the free version as well.
And if you think this is exciting, stick around till the end. There's a little bonus there on
Yay.
a kind of overlooked feature in Excel that's very AI related and that most
Love
people
it.
don't even know is there. So yeah, it's basically looked at that. It's given me some key trends and insights. Again, I can refine it even more and I can say, hey, I specifically in that spreadsheet want to know more about social media engagement. So it's busy looking at the social media piece specifically. And I can ask it based off of that data how we can further improve engagement on those platforms as well. And as it's thinking about that based off of that data, kind of similar to what we did earlier, I can say, can you write a marketing plan, but based on
Mm-hmm.
the data that I just provided you with? So, all right, here it's done some really good work here on the social media engagement. So yeah, just for fun, let's quickly do that. Let's say, write a marketing plan based on this document, emphasize social media strategies, and give practical examples. And then similar to what we did with the other report, we can say we want to now create a PowerPoint outline on this, based on this. Give me what those slides should be and kind of what should be in that content. So I'm not going to do that one. We did kind of show you, I did show you a little bit earlier on
Mm-hmm.
how to create that slide deck outline. But yeah, just a pretty uh, awesome, I think, tool to be able to even reference some of the Excel stuff. From here, if I, wanted to include some images in that, that marketing plan, I could do what we did at the top of the hour and, generate some images, be very specific. I could potentially say here, I wanted for my PowerPoint deck, I wanted to generate an image of a coffee cup on a desk in an impressionist style because I want to be fancy. All right, so as it's thinking there, as I said, we're almost kind of at the end of today's session. I had one little quick bonus thing that I wanted to show you as it's thinking through getting me a really cool image over there.
There it goes.
Woohoo! That is not too bad. Before we get to the bonus, one quick thing that I wanted to show you is if you are searching the web, as I mentioned right at the beginning of the session, as you can see, this is a lot of technical stuff. It's a Microsoft how-to document. And I'm like, oh, this kind of feels like a lot. I can actually use this little button here on the right-hand side. If I click that, the little panel on the right-hand side for Copilot will open up, and I can click there on Create a Summary, and off we go. All right, I see I'm having some connection issues here. Let me
Of
just,
course.
of course, always happens in a demo. If it didn't happen
Yep.
in a demo, I'd be worried. I'm
Wouldn't
gonna
be a
just,
demo.
it wouldn't be a demo. Let's refresh that really quickly. Say create a summary. All right, so you'll have to take my word for it. It will do a summary. One of the other fun things that I like to do as well is once it's given me a summary on a really technical document is to say, hey, Copilot, can you explain it to me like I'm a 10-year-old?
Yes,
And it does a really great job of doing that as well. Um,
it does. Yep.
all right, so to the bonus piece, I'm going to open up the financial sample. So I have a financial sample here, as you can see, quite a bit of data. And because I do have the free version, I don't have the Copilot button embedded there in my toolbar. If you had the paid version, you would see the Copilot button up at the top, but for this, we do not. This particular demo environment doesn't have it. However, and for those of you who love Excel out there, I want to show you a little trick over here. So if you go to data, there's a button that not a lot of people always notice is there called Analyze Data. and it
Look
does.
at that.
I know, right? It does quite a bit of what the paid version of Copilot actually does. And so it gives me some, preset insights based off of the data set, but I can also ask specific questions. So I can say, total sales by country. Voila.
Wow.
I know, isn't that cool?
That's a
So
nice little find.
that is a nice little nugget.
Yes,
So yeah, if you have some data, obviously with the paid version, there's some additional stuff like being able to do functions and formulas for you, and doing predictive analysis and things like that. So there are obviously some additional features. But if you're just looking to analyze a data set that you already have, and you want to ask questions of it, or you want to get some quick totals or a fancy little chart that you can show, to your C-suite, this would be a great way to do that. And so it's kind of hidden there. Not a lot of people know that it's available, but it's really part of kind of the free AI that's included with Excel as well.
that's
So with
awesome.
that, I think I made it with like a minute over, so not too bad.
You did good. You did good. Awesome. Well, yeah. So thanks for everybody who was watching live, and thanks to you if you're watching in the future. Stay tuned. We do these user groups once a month. In the coming months, we're going to have some guests come back on to share some more nuggets around Copilot, Microsoft 365. And if you haven't already, we encourage you to join. We have an actual M365 Champions community on LinkedIn. We'll share these events. We live stream these events there. We also have just a community of power users and champions like yourself to just collaborate and share those nuggets when you find really cool things like what Nina just showed you. Like we'd love to just have an environment where we can all share that. Additionally, check out mytech.com/events for upcoming events around 365. We actually are going to be doing some virtual hands-on demos. We have one later this month, and then about every other month where we actually bring you into a fully versioned Copilot demo and let you click and try. So be sure to sign up for those because those are registered or limited seating as well, limited virtual seating. So with that, anything else, Nina, for today?
No, I think that's it. I hope that you can go in there and click and try and get excited about it, and really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, till next time, everybody, have a great day.